Thank you very much, co-chairs and members of the committee. Good afternoon. For your record, I'm David Gomberg from House District 10 on the Central Oregon coast, and I'm pleased to be with you today to speak briefly to the aspect of cost containment that deals with delinquent debt. And I wanted to talk particularly about the -3 amendments that I have offered for you. But just very briefly, a little bit of background. As you know, I'm a small business owner, and when my business needs money, we look at reducing our costs, we look at increasing our revenues or our sales, and we look at our accounts receivable. And what are the accounts receivable for the state of Oregon right now? Colleagues, in excess of $3.3 billion. $3.3 billion. And despite 6 audits over the last 10 years, that number has doubled, while the rate of collection is actually declining. And what we're learning are things like the number of people who submit tax returns each year but don't send in a payment or create a payment plan, over $600 million. The number of businesses that owe fines or fees to the state but are hired by other agencies to perform work. So we got money coming out when the money isn't coming back to us, about 9,000 different companies. And the amount of debt that we write off each year, I mean, simply get tired of trying to collect it. This problem is so pervasive that we are now writing off or canceling over $500 million a year in delinquent debt. I wanted to thank Representative Williamson. We have a measure in your Rules Committee trying to address that right now. So as you heard, the measure before you, 1067, includes major portions from Senate Bill 89. And one of the main things that 89 would do is take the delinquent debt throughout the state system and consolidate it within the Department of Revenue, where they can cross-match people who owe more than one account. They can focus with some of their special tools to collect that money. They can use their experts to zero in when a lot of agencies don't have such experts. I wanted to give a shout out to Representative Smith and the General Government Committee, who's been working very hard with the Department of Revenue to refine their tools and encourage them to do a better job on all of this. And that background brings me to my -3 amendments, which were intended for Senate Bill 89, but are now before you on 1067. And they say this. They address those agencies that are currently carrying more than $50 million in delinquent debt. And it says 3 things. It says, first of all, take a look at that debt and tell us what kind of debt it is. Is it uncollected taxes? Is it fees? Is it fines? Is it restitution? Let's characterize the debt so we understand what that money actually constitutes and why it's owed. The second thing it says is take another look at those accounts and tell us which are reasonably collectible. Let's get a sense of how much of the money out there is real, how much of it is not real, or how much of it might be real. And the third thing it says, colleagues, is that those agencies or departments, again, with $50 million or more, need to put a plan together to start collecting on it more efficiently, with a target of 10%. So what does that mean to us in terms of our cost containment goals right here? Because the numbers that have been circulated at this point don't include any revenues generated from debt collection. And I'm going to exclude for a moment any monies that are not general funds. I think there's plenty of good reason to go after those dollars, but let's concentrate on the general fund dollars, which again, out of that $3 billion plus, constitutes about $600 million. So if we can encourage agencies and they can be successful in pursuing 10% of that $700 million a year, that's going to mean another $70 million in cost containment that we can put toward good causes. Colleagues, it's not going to close the fiscal gap that we're facing. It's not going to balance our accounts, but I don't know that that's really the point. The point is that most Oregonians pay their fair share and get frustrated when not everybody does so. So I hope that you'd encourage the -3 amendments as one more tool to make sure that we're collecting the monies that are owed to us and that everybody is in fact paying their fair share. Mr. Co-Chair, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Not a question, but a comment. Representative Gomberg has done phenomenal work, thoughtful work on debt collection practices within the state. We collectively would be very wise to follow his leadership on this issue. He's taken the time and the energy to get to know this issue, to research it, to talk with folks within state agencies, and so I applaud you, Representative. And again, I want to reiterate, we would be very, very wise to follow his counsel as he's bringing it forward to us.
Is that a question?
Statement.
Any questions at all? Thank you so much,
Mr. Co-Chair,
Representative.
thank you for those kind words, Representative. Thank you, committee.